On this, we're joined by Middle East expert Hussein Ibish. He is a senior fellow at the American Task Force on Palestine, which is a non-profit group that advocates a negotiated two-state solution to the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. And a deafening silence from the Obama team. I mean, he is on holiday and there is, as he often says, one president at a time, but it seems like cherry picking, not to call it hypocrisy. He chooses to make statements, endless statements, many would say, on the economy, certainly also on foreign policy in the wake of the Mumbai attacks, but not a single word uttered here. Yeah,
that's true. I wouldn't call it hypocrisy. I would agree that it's selective. The economy is different than foreign policy. So I really think you can't put the two together. Foreign policy is strictly an executive function, and there is, I think, some very strong basis for his claim that there's only one president at a time. Now, it's also true that his spokesman made comments about Mumbai, but I think that was a much simpler political issue. Now, let me finish.
Because it is a complex issue, I mean, surely the scale of the ongoing violence in Gaza would warrant his attention.
I would want him, let me be very clear, I want him to make a clear, unequivocal statement about the need for a ceasefire. That's what I want. If anybody from his transition team asks me, I will tell them that. And if he were to call me and ask me, I would urge him and prod him to do it. But I think we have to be realistic. Well, I think that's what he can do as president-elect, is say things, right? He's not the president. So here's the problem. Here's the rub for Obama. And I think just simply to expect without taking into consideration the context is foolish. The context is that if he did jump in with a strong statement on what is a controversial issue, especially in the United States, and would not be a simple matter like simply condemning the Mumbai massacre, he would be accepting responsibility without having authority. And that is probably something that he and very few other politicians would want to do.
But if there is this kind of acquiescence and acceptance of the status quo here in Washington, as I hear you suggest, what kind of change is there that you can hope for in terms of U.S. policy towards Israel?
Well, first of all, you have to look at what he does when he comes to office. Okay, I don't think you can judge completely what Obama's foreign policy is going to look like by his silence before he takes office. But I'll say this. I think that, you shouldn't expect too much of President-elect Obama, in the sense that he's a mainstream American politician. He's a centrist Democrat. And when he talks about change, he probably doesn't mean moving away from the special relationship the United States has with Israel. On the other hand, he's said that there's a difference between supporting Israel and supporting Likud. That's very important. And he's spoken about the need for a new president to get engaged in diplomacy on the Israeli-Palestinian issue early on.
So there's Arab American community, if yourselves, your kind of organizations don't move on an issue like this, what will you move on, and why would it?
Well, who says we're not moving? I mean, I think a lot of us are doing a lot of stuff. No, I don't think that's true at all. We can't force the president-elect to act like the president before he takes office. But I do think that there's movement across the board in the Arab American community, everything from street-level protests to pressure on the existing government officials, meetings with various senior people, a lot of press work that's being done, a lot of effort to do humanitarian fundraising. There's a lot of stuff that's going on here. On the other hand, getting Barack Obama to say something about this very controversial, very difficult issue when even the Palestinians are divided, as your own correspondent just said, and the Americans certainly would be at most divided, if not sort of, pretty have a consensus in favor of it.
Clearly, if I may just interrupt.
Very difficult to get him to do that.
Successive U.S. administrations, and presumably Barack Obama's administration as well, do not see it as being against their national interest to show this constant staunch support for Israel, regardless of its policies, because there is no repercussion on their relationship with the Arab world. Does that need to change? Do Arab governments have to take a firmer stand?
Well, I think certainly if Arab states coordinated, for example, to press in a much more effective way the Arab Peace Initiative adopted by the Arab League, I think that would be enormously effective. There's a lot more they could do diplomatically, yes. Could the Arab states do more? No doubt. Could the Arab American community do more? No question. We haven't organized ourselves properly vis-a-vis elections, vis-a-vis giving money, the normal levers of power in the United States. So you've got a situation where there is a a profound power imbalance in the American domestic scene. That influences all American politicians. So there's lots that can and should and I expect will be done, but I don't think anything can be done to get Obama to say anything before he takes the oath about this and other incredibly controversial issues, when it would be accepting responsibility without having authority.
Hussein Ibish, Senior Fellow at the American Task Force on Palestine, many thanks for joining us.